Thank you for joining us. William the Conqueror, born around 1028 in the town of Falaise in Normandy, is one of the most pivotal figures in European history. His life was marked by ambition, military prowess, and the profound transformation under his rule. William was the son of Robert I, Duke of Normandy, and Herleva, a woman of relatively humble origins. Herleva was the daughter of a tanner, a profession far removed from the nobility. This social disparity between his parents meant that William was born illegitimately, a fact that earned him the title William the Bastard in his early years. However, despite his illegitimacy, William's father recognized him as his legitimate son and heir. This acknowledgement by Duke Robert was crucial, as it secured William's future as the next Duke of Normandy. The early years of William's life were marked by turbulence and uncertainty. When William was just 8 years old, his father embarked on a pilgrimage to Jerusalem. Before leaving, Robert gathered his barons and declared William as his successor, urging them to support the boy in the event of his death. Unfortunately, Robert never returned from his pilgrimage, dying under mysterious circumstances in 1035. This left young William as the Duke of Normandy, a position that brought with it both great responsibility and immense danger. The death of Duke Robert left Normandy in a state of chaos. As a young boy, William was vulnerable to the ambitions of the Norman nobility, who saw his illegitimacy and youth as weaknesses to exploit. The following years were characterized by a series of violent uprisings and attempts to overthrow William. His guardians were killed one by one, and William himself narrowly escaped death on several occasions. The instability in Normandy created a power vacuum that various factions sought to fill, often through violent means. Despite the constant threats to his life, William proved to be a resilient and resourceful young man. By his late teens, he had begun to assert control over his duchy, demonstrating both military skill and political acumen. He forged alliances with powerful nobles and sought the protection of his overlord, King Henry I of France. These alliances were vital in helping William secure his position and fend off the numerous rebellions that plagued his early reign. One of the most significant challenges William faced during his early rule was the rebellion led by his cousin, Guy of Burgundy. In 1047, Guy, who believed he had a stronger claim to the duchy, rallied several Norman barons to his cause. The rebellion culminated in the Battle of Hastings, where William, with the assistance of King Henry I, decisively defeated the rebels. This victory marked a turning point in William's rule, as it solidified his control over Normandy and demonstrated his ability to lead and command respect. In 1051, William married Matilda of Flanders, a union that was both a personal and political triumph. Matilda was the daughter of Baldwin V, Count of Flanders, one of the most powerful nobles in Europe. This marriage strengthened William's position by allying him with one of the most influential families on the continent. The union produced several children, further securing William's lineage and legacy. The marriage to Matilda also had broader political implications. Flanders was strategically located and held significant influence in European politics. By marrying into the Flemish ruling family, William gained a powerful ally, which helped to deter potential threats from rival powers, including the French king. Matilda herself was a capable and supportive partner, managing Normandy in William's absence and playing a key role in the administration of their duchy. Throughout the 1050s, William continued to consolidate his power in Normandy. He focused on strengthening his control over his vassals, building castles to assert his authority, and implementing reforms that would improve the governance of his lands. His rule was characterized by a mix of stern justice and calculated diplomacy, ensuring that any opposition was swiftly dealt with, either through military force or strategic alliances. By the time the 1060s began, William had firmly established himself as one of the most powerful rulers in France, and his ambitions extended far beyond the borders of Normandy. While William was consolidating power in Normandy, events across the English Channel were setting the stage for one of the most famous military campaigns in history. In 1066, Edward the Confessor, the childless King of England, died, leaving no direct heir to the throne. This created a power vacuum and sparked a succession crisis in England. William claimed that Edward, who had spent time in Normandy during his exile, had promised him the English throne. Moreover, William insisted that Harold Godwinson, one of the most powerful nobles in England, had sworn an oath to support his claim during a visit to Normandy in 1064. Harold Godwinson, however, had other plans. Shortly after Edward's death, Harold was crowned King of England, a move that William viewed as a direct betrayal. Enraged by Harold's actions and determined to claim what he believed was rightfully his, William began preparations for an invasion of England. This was no small task. It required assembling a large fleet, gathering an army, and securing the support of his vassals and allies. William's preparations for the invasion were meticulous, reflecting his strategic mind and understanding of the complexities of such an undertaking. In the summer of 1066, William's fleet was ready, and he awaited favorable winds to cross the English Channel. While he waited, Harold was forced to march his army north to confront an invasion by Harald Hardrada of Norway, who had also claimed the English throne. Harold defeated the Norwegians at the Battle of Stamford Bridge in September, but his forces were exhausted and depleted. This left England vulnerable to William's invasion. In late September 1066, the winds finally shifted in William's favor, and his fleet set sail across the English Channel. William's forces landed at Pevensey on the south coast of England on September 28, 1066. From there, they advanced inland, establishing a base at Hastings. William's army was composed of a diverse mix of troops, including knights, archers, and infantry, drawn from across Normandy and other parts of France. Harold, upon learning of William's landing, rushed south with his remaining forces, covering the distance from York to London in just a few days. Despite the fatigue of his troops, Harold opted to engage William's forces as soon as possible, hoping to catch them off guard before they could fully establish themselves. On October 14, 1066, the two armies met at the Battle of Hastings, one of the most famous and decisive battles in European history. The battle was a brutal and bloody affair, lasting from morning until dusk. Harold's forces took up a strong defensive position on Senlac Hill, forming a shield wall that initially withstood the Norman assaults. William's army, however, was better organized and more diverse in its tactics. Throughout the day, William employed a series of feigned retreats to lure parts of the English army into breaking their formation, which proved to be a decisive tactic. As the battle wore on, the English forces began to falter. A turning point came when Harold was struck down, reportedly by an arrow to the eye. Although accounts vary, with their king dead, the English forces began to collapse, and the Normans surged forward, overwhelming the remaining defenders. By the end of the day, William had secured a complete victory. The Battle of Hastings effectively marked the end of Anglo-Saxon rule in England and paved the way for William to claim the throne. Following his victory at Hastings, William moved quickly to consolidate his control over England. He marched towards London, encountering sporadic resistance along the way, but his reputation and the devastation of Harold's army ensured that opposition was limited. On Christmas Day 1066, William was crowned King of England in Westminster Abbey, a ceremony that symbolized the beginning of a new era in English history. However, William's coronation did not mean that his rule was uncontested. Over the next few years, he faced several rebellions and uprisings across England. The most significant of these occurred in the north, where resistance to Norman rule was particularly strong. In response, William embarked on a brutal campaign known as the Harrying of the North, during which his forces laid waste to large swathes of land, destroying villages, crops, and livestock. This campaign effectively crushed the northern resistance, but it also left a legacy of devastation and resentment that would last for generations. To secure his rule, William implemented a series of measures to consolidate Norman control over England. He granted large tracts of land to his most loyal followers, establishing a new Norman aristocracy that replaced the old Anglo-Saxon elite. These Norman lords built castles across the country, both as symbols of their power and as defensive strongholds to suppress any further resistance. The most famous of these is the Tower of London, which began as a simple wooden fort but was later expanded into a formidable stone fortress. William also introduced the feudal system to England, a hierarchical structure in which land was held in exchange for military service. This system helped to centralize control and ensure that William's authority was upheld throughout the kingdom. In addition to these changes, William ordered the creation of the Domesday Book in 1086, a comprehensive survey of all the land and resources in England. This document provided William with a detailed understanding of his new kingdom's wealth and allowed him to effectively tax and govern his subjects. William the Conqueror's reign had a profound and lasting impact on England. The Norman conquest brought significant changes to the country's governance, legal system, and culture. The introduction of the Norman aristocracy and the feudal system fundamentally altered the social structure of England, creating a new ruling class that would dominate the country for centuries. The castles and fortifications built by the Normans became enduring symbols of their authority and reshaped the English landscape. Culturally, the Norman conquest led to a blending of Anglo-Saxon and Norman traditions, particularly in language, law, and architecture. The English language itself was profoundly influenced by Norman French, with thousands of words entering the vocabulary and significantly shaping the development of Middle English. This cultural fusion also extended to the legal system, where Norman practices were integrated with existing Anglo-Saxon laws, laying the foundation for the English common law tradition. William's reign also had significant religious implications. He maintained close ties with the papacy, and his conquest of England was supported by Pope Alexander II, who saw it as an opportunity to bring the English Church more closely under the control of Rome. William reformed the English Church, appointing Norman bishops and abbots and promoting the construction of grand cathedrals and monasteries in the Romanesque style. Despite his successes, William's reign was not without challenges. He faced ongoing resistance from the English population, and the Norman conquest created deep social divisions that would take generations to heal. William's later years were also marked by family conflicts, particularly with his eldest son, Robert Curthose, who rebelled against his father's authority. William's harsh measures to maintain control, including the harrying of the North, left a legacy of resentment and suffering. William died in 1087 while leading a military campaign in northern France. His death was followed by a bitter struggle among his sons over the succession, a conflict that reflected the tensions and divisions within his own family. William was buried in the Abbey of Saint-Étienne in Caen, Normandy, a church he had founded, and his tomb remains there to this day. Finally, William the Conqueror's life was a testament to the power of ambition, resilience, and strategic genius. From his early struggles as an illegitimate child to his triumphant conquest of England, William's story is one of remarkable achievements against overwhelming odds. His reign as the first Norman king of England marked the beginning of a new chapter in the country's history, one that would shape its development for centuries to come. The legacy of William the Conqueror is still felt today, more than 950 years after his death. His impact on England's governance, culture, and legal system continues to influence the nation, and his life remains a powerful example of how individual ambition can change the course of history. William's journey from a small town in Normandy to the throne of England is a story of determination, courage, and the relentless pursuit of power, making him one of the most enduring figures in European history. We invite you to support our journey by subscribing to our channel at Socratic_Stoicism. Please, we lack subscribers. Kindly assist us by subscribing to our channel. Thank you for watching and see you in the next video.